Hey y'all, this is Marie from our Okie homestead. I've been trying to get gardening stuff done. There's only a certain time in the mornings and in the evenings that I can really work outside and not have to worry about the bees and the wasps. So I've just been kind of pushing it. I haven't been recording any of it. I've been working on getting seedlings started. That's how late I am. So I've been out here. Now we did get, me and dear sister got the hoss tarp put down over on garden number 2. It's been a month and a half, 2 months now. Stuff is still trying to sprout under it, but it's about time to pull it off in order to go ahead and till under that. With that being the first year using the tarp, it would be better to get it all tilled up and try to kill anything that might be trying to grow in there. So my irises are starting to bloom, which is a little bit bigger ones, but I'll take it. I need to thin those out again. Every bucket that I did last year is getting pretty full. Fixing to come in, I got basil planted down there, and that's the only thing I've planted in this bed so far. The onions are doing pretty good, as y'all seen on my short. I've got bush beans, green beans. Oops, they're in that bed. From like that mark on is the bush beans. I left space for my tomatoes. My indeterminates will go over the trellises again. I'm thinking about maybe trying to plant a cantaloupe in this one, in this tub, and see how it does. Let it climb over this trellis. I thought about actually putting cantaloupe in one and honeydew in this other, and then letting them grow up over and see how well they do in these containers. That's either 15 or 20 gallon size. I'm going to show you something else, and this is one reason why I'm talking about I should have been recording. But bush beans in here. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to plant stuff this year. The tomatoes are going to go back over here where they were last year. I pulled up all the volunteer Roma tomatoes. I ended up with 8 of them. And so far, all of them's doing well. I need to redo my stakes. I didn't like the way that held up last year. They were a mess. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull those out. And my little U-channel posts are really good for the pepper plants. So that's probably where I'm going to, I may line some peppers up here and then have the tomatoes there. So I'm thinking between, set a couple posts right down the middle and then line them up down the middle. And then as they grow, I'll just weave the twine around them. Maybe that'll keep them contained a little bit better. But anyway, I've been trying to work on this mess. I've decided I'm not going to have this compost in here. It has got overrun with the Bermuda grass. It had my fabric over here covered up. I don't have fabric here, but I've got old vinyl flooring down. And I thought for sure that would keep stuff from getting growed over it, but it didn't slow it down at all. So I'm going to get this mess cleaned up, hopefully, before the weather gets too hot. Made me a wire ring, and I'm going to put it in a corner, probably put another one next to it eventually. Go ahead and just toss stuff over into the wire rings for my compost. If I'm going to get it moved, I need to get on the ball about it. But the bad thing was that Bermuda grass is so invasive. It come on over here, and it's worked itself into my strawberry bed, and that stuff is almost impossible to get rid of. These beds being right against that wire made it really hard. They're not even 3 foot wide, and sitting on the edge and trying to pick strawberries, it was kind of hard. So as you can see, there's no strawberries in there now. We got them all pulled up. I'm not going to have a bed against the outside of the fence anymore. We got this bed moved over since it was just sitting on top of the fabric. Both the landscape timber beds were just sitting on top of the fabric. And so it took 3 of the blue tubs to get all the dirt out. And then we just moved the bed over to here. It still leaves this wide right up against that gooseberry that's prickly. It still leaves my wide space here for where it floods and it runs through. And then that way it can go ahead, it can run through. It's not on the slope, so it's sitting fairly level. I didn't check level, I don't care. So anyway, we got them all transplanted into here, and as you can see, it's a pretty good amount of strawberry plants. Some of them are already starting to produce berries. So I don't know, we may not get any. It just depends on how well they do since being transplanted, because normally that puts plants into shock. Hopefully I got all the grass and weeds away from the roots, so hopefully it's nothing but berries in here, nothing but strawberries. And of course, because it was over there next to that fence, there may be seeds of other weeds in here too, but time will tell on that one. Kind of like the clover that's growing in the blueberry bushes, which they need to be transplanted, and they're starting to produce the berries, so it's not really a good time to transplant them, but I need to get them in the ground. Whether I lose out on berries by getting them in the ground, you know, that's just something I'm going to have to deal with. But I've got to move them out of here too. This is the hard part about having big containers, when you have to move them. Oh, for right now, it's going to have to be it. I got to stop. I got to rest. That's the hard part about doing any of this. Oh, when you have issues. You know, the only way you can get it done sometimes is just a little bit at a time, then at least you're still making progress, right? I mean, it's going to make it look a lot different, I think. But I like the fact I'm going to have room to get around here to do stuff. After I get my plan is, once I get my blueberries transplanted, I can reuse those containers, refill them with dirt, and then I can put them along here in this corner, along the whole fence if I wanted to. And it'd be a lot harder for that Bermuda grass to work its way up into those tubs. So that's my plan. Just keeping the invasive vines and grasses out of here. That's the hard part. So the whole point in having this landscape fabric around my beds is to decrease how much weeding and stuff that I have to do, because I really, with everything else, I can't dedicate all my time to the garden. I can't. Now, this was a lesson. Don't put your stuff up against a fence where stuff is going to be able to grow through and invade your beds, because you're kind of losing out on the part of the reason for having the raised beds, you know, is so it's harder for things to invade your space. And up against the fence was a major mistake, because they were able to do that. And then plus with the width of the bed, it's like 2.5 feet, sitting on the edge and leaning across to get berries on that was hard. So now we can access it all the way around. These will be moved later. This other bed, I'm not going to move it just yet. I've got to go through all the dirt that's in it with a fine-tooth comb and get out all the weeds and the grass that has invaded it. Put those in my containers, and then I'll have to get this mess cleaned up more and dealt with, because that bed's going to move over here. I've got to get in here all these little clovers that are popping up. I've been digging them out, and more is popping up. So I've got to get that dealt with. Well, basically what's going in our garden this year, right now, the onions are already in here. The strawberries are already in here. I planted one of the blue tubs, like the blueberry bushes, over in that corner. I planted some okra, planted a couple seeds. Thought, well, if a couple okra come up over there, I like the flowers on the okra, and okra produces like crazy. I've got the basil planted there. I've got that bed. I can put peppers in it, or I can plant some more cantaloupe to trail on the fence. I'm going to get off of here so I can go get me something to eat. I've still got to go to the barn. It's just that getting out here in the garden first thing is the best time, because the wasps, the bees, is starting to really get warm out. So it's like, get that stuff done before I ever go to the barn. I'm going to get off of here so I can rest for a bit, get me some breakfast, and then head to the barn. Y'all have a good one.